cactus and succulent growers, I'm Lynn and welcome to Desert Plant Survival on the north of Ireland. In today's video I'm going to be separating a cluster of Gymnocalcium Vinci. And this is the Gymnocalcium Vinci here, and this is actually a few different plants all in the one pot. When I first got it I thought it was just the one and it had pups, but when I repotted it a couple of years ago I discovered that it is actually a group of seedlings, and that was definitely validated when I actually seen it coming to bloom the one time, and it had one pink flower and one lovely cream flower, as you can see in this photograph. And that's when I realised that there's actually seedlings that when they sowed the seeds they just sow them all together and they've all grown like this. This is one I've had for about 5 years, and I want to separate this because this is growing too clustered together. This isn't one plant and these are the pups. These are all individual Gymnocalcium Vinci's, and I think it's time to separate them. I have made a video already on how to separate cactus clusters, so I'm going to be using the same method in this video, and if you haven't seen that video, it's one I did I think about a year ago now. Do go ahead and watch that video, and I'll link that video up above because that shows you I'm using columnar cacti that are all grown together and I separate it in this video. I'm going to be doing the same method with this. So if you have one of these cacti and you notice that they're all seedlings all growing together and you want to separate them, hopefully this video will also help you as well, because this is a different type to the columnar one. So here we go guys, I'm going to take this upstairs into my grow room and I'm going to show you the whole separation process and potting them up in their individual pots. So here I am in the grow room now, and I just want to mention that when I've shared this cactus on some of the Facebook groups in the past, when they've had the two different coloured flowers, a few people have said to me, could it be Gymnocalcium anacisti? Because it can look very similar, and the fact there's two different coloured flowers is possibly there could be Vinci and anacisti in this same pot. As I say, I think they're a mixture of obviously different types, or they could all be Vinci, not quite sure, but it's going to be good to separate them anyway and give them their own pots. And I've got a little spoon here, and that's because I'm going to be using the bottom part of this handle here to separate the roots, and this is to protect my hands. So when I'm turning it on its side I can protect my hands that way. So here we go then, let's get separating this, taking out its pot and separating it apart. So first of all, on its side, I'm going to use that just to protect my hands. Take it out. Oh, that's it. And good to check over the root system as well, to check that there's no signs of beasties. Now the thing is, when you're separating these, I have to be very, very careful because, as I say, I don't think this is the one plant with all the pups on. This is a few different ones. So the only way I'm going to find out is by gently teasing this. And because it's going to be another week or two before I start watering any of my desert cacti. Saying that, I think I'll have to give my puntias, the prickly pears, a watering this week because they're very shriveled. But the majority of them I won't be watering for another week or two. And because of that, I want to give this chance to pot it up, and it means it can sit for a week, 10 days to 2 weeks before I start to water them. Now this is loosening it up here a little bit with the roots. And I'm going to carry on sort of loosening up these roots because I want to loosen up the roots first so I can separate this. I wouldn't just, whatever you do with these type of cacti, don't just pull them apart because they're going to break away. And these type of cacti, when there's more than one growing in the pot, it's different to the cactus pups that you see. For example, a lot of the mammillaria cacti or the echinopsis cacti will be one particular cactus and it will have a load of pups growing. And I have made a video on how to separate cactus pups to propagate them. So do watch that video if you haven't seen that video, and what you've got is more like the pups growing on the side. And I'll link that video up above, so do go ahead and watch that one after this one. This is more separating when you get more than one cactus in the same pot, and they often sell them like this. You'll find there'll be a group of different, even different cacti, or the same type of cactus, but more of them in one pot. That's good anyway, the roots are coming away. So I'm going to carry on teasing this now. Teasing these roots. Now this is taking a little bit longer than I expected, and that's because one of the pups came away quite easily there with a little root. But this here is quite difficult to loosen up, and it's really important that I loosen up as much soil as I can before I try and pull these apart, because as I say, if I just pull them apart by the heads, I could damage them and they'll probably come away without the roots. So patience. So I'm going to be having to take time. So when you're separating cacti that are all in the same pot, you do need to really take your time and loosen up the roots. I'm actually using a little blunt toothpick instead of this, because this is a little bit too wide. So just have to literally just keep very carefully teasing as much as the roots as you can. Well, I think that's as loose as I can get it. As I say, great roots, and then I just have to very carefully, yes, that's the first one. Happy days. So I'll lay that one there with this one. Then I have to separate these three here, and just going to loosen up. You can always use your fingers to loosen up any remaining tangled roots. Yes, look at that. Happy days. So great root systems on these buttes. These two quite, yep, oh, come away quite easy. So that's that one there also. And this one, happy days. So I have got, that was a little dried up one there. So I've got 5 Gymnomyhanavinches that I'm able to separate, and hopefully this will help you guys, because when I did the video on how to separate cactus clusters, I used a columnar example with a columnar cactus, and a few people said I've got round cacti, you know, and I said, well, it depends if it's one cactus with all the pups growing on the side, because the pups you need to detach. But when you've got a load of cacti all growing in the same pot of the same cactus, which is, as I mentioned, very common how they sell them all together, then you do need to take them completely out of the pot and tease them all off. I'll just make sure that looks like it's an old one that may have died back. But these are all good. As I say, this is how this particular cactus looks. It does have this red coloration on them. And the Gymnomyhanavinche is often commonly seen as a brightly coloured cactus that's grafted onto Hyla cereus called moon cactus. And that's because they lack the chlorophyll. This is one that has its own natural chlorophyll. It goes this red colour in high sun. But if you've got the very bright coloured ones, like the bright yellow or the bright red, then they have to be grafted because they lack chlorophyll. So totally different to the normal Myhanavinches that are just growing on their own roots and they've got their own chlorophyll. So that's them. So now I'm going to get some pots and get them potted up. Now I've got the pots ready. I've got a larger pot for putting the biggest one with the longest roots, and all these smaller ones are going to be going into these smaller pots. And I've made up a soil mix, and I normally use 3 equal parts of loam, grit and sand, but I haven't got much grit, so I've had to use a bit of grit and a bit of pumice. But it's 3 equal parts, so 25% grit and 25% pumice, with equal parts of loam, using John Innes number 2, with horticultural sharp sand. But the most important thing is when you're potting up cacti that you use a well draining soil. So everyone has their own favourite mixes, and that it's loose and free draining. And once I've potted these up, as I say, I won't be watering them probably for about 10 days. I'm going to be starting up watering all of my cacti very soon in the polytunnel. And that's why I wanted to get this separated and potted up, so they've got the chance for the roots to settle down before I start with the watering. So I'll show you the couple of examples first, rather than bore you with the whole entire video. And I'll just pull the stand back so you can see a little bit better there. I'll put a bit of soil in the bottom. And then this biggest one. And yes, I know I'm not wearing gloves, but as I mentioned, the spines, they're not sharp at all. I'm used to handling them. And you want to make sure that when you're putting cacti in with the roots, that you don't just squash them all at the bottom. Make sure them roots are loose, and then hold it in the middle there. And then I'm going to be putting all the soil all around the sides. So good to get these separated, because this was a job I wanted to do last year, and I knew that they were crampy all against the pot as well, and rather than just pot it up into a bigger pot, I knew it's good to separate them, and then they've all got chance then to grow much better. And I always like to sort of tap the soil so it goes all around the sides. And the reason why I like to leave it before I water after repotting cacti, and I'll be doing this even if it was the middle of summer, is because, as you can see here, I've clearly had to detangle all and separate all of these Gymnoclisium, my Havinches. And if I just went ahead now and watered them, then the roots that I've had to disturb, as careful as I've been, could rot if they've got damage. So in about 10 days, 2 weeks, I'll be able to water these when I'm starting up with all my other cacti. And do stay tuned for a video coming up this week. It's the Easter holidays at the moment, and it's actually Easter Day today. So if you celebrate Easter, happy Easter to you. And if you're watching this video in the future, well, I will be doing watering some of my cacti this week coming now for the Easter holidays, because although the weather, lovely day today, they haven't forecast the weather to be particularly good this week, lots of rain. I can't go any longer without watering my cacti in the polytunnel because they are so shriveled. So I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of the prickly pears and some of my Camaceras and Rebutias and other ones that are looking very shriveled. So there we go, that's the first one. And I always like to just press down with the blunt end of a spoon. That's the first one done. And now for the others, and I'll just show you me doing one of the other ones here. So again, a bit of soil in the bottom, like so. And then this one in there. Soil around. Tap the pot. And I like to do these videos, so hopefully it will help you out if you also have cacti all growing together as well. Easy peasy. And again, tap it in. There you go, that's the second one. And then I'm going to show you what they look like when they're all done. So that's them all potted up and all labelled, and now they've got a chance to grow in their own little pots, and hopefully I should get some gorgeous flowers again on these this year. If you haven't done already, then do please subscribe, and don't forget to click that notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook at Desert Plants of Avalon. And for more growing tips, do check out my website as well as for regular blogs on there, desertplantsofavalon.com. I want to wish you all a fantastic cactus powered day.